Welcome in all Cowboy athletes back for another episode. We've got a special guest with us, Coach Jones, head soccer coach here at Wyoming
Well,
High School.
football too.
Yeah, he's played a little football back in the day. Who knows? It is called football in other countries. Got Coach Mauser, Coach King with me here. Gentlemen, it's been a while. Coach Mauser, you weren't on with us on Monday. How have you been doing? How have you been holding up?
I'm doing good. I was just a little under the weather for Monday, so I spent the day rested. Tuesday, tested it out, did some running, light push-ups, squats, bodyweight stuff. I'm ready to get back at it.
Coach King, how are those sprints coming for you, buddy?
They're still good. Marked off the 25 yards in my driveway, been doing some 300-yard shuttles. That's good. Just at-home kettlebell workouts. Everything's been good since Monday. I wish it would get a little warmer, but glad to have Coach Jones on here and excited about tonight.
Yeah, the athletes really don't care about us all that much, Coach
No.
Jones. Yeah, they care about learning more about what's going on with their upcoming season. So I want to kick it off, Coach Jones. How's things been going for you? Do you miss coaching at Wyoming? How are you staying in touch with your players? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. This has been awesome, and I'm so glad that you guys are doing this for our kids and for our community. So thank you guys so much. To answer your question, absolutely. I miss everything about coaching. My entire life revolves around a sports schedule, whether it's the high school sports or the club sports. I always have a season, and that's kind of how I dictate where I am in life. And like so many of our athletes, I don't have it anymore. So that's been different and difficult and hard, and all the things that the athletes have been going through, I think us coaches have been going through as well. So obviously itching to get back. In terms of what we've been able to do or stay connected with our kids, it's been this, right? We're kind of doing a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of individual text messages, just trying to stay connected, ensure that the kids know we're thinking about them during this time. So making the best of the situation, that's all we can do.
You mentioned kind of individual text messages. What has been some of the things that have been relayed to you as kind of the biggest struggle for whether it's club sport or the Wyoming soccer team?
Yeah. I think the biggest struggle that everyone is facing right now is just missing their teammates. That's what so many kids talk about. It's not necessarily I miss the sport, I miss the games. It's I miss my friends. I miss practices. I miss time before practice. And so that's kind of heartbreaking, but it's also heartwarming. And it really tells us why our sport's important. It's great to compete. It's great to win championships, but we really do it because of relationships. And we're seeing that with our kids, and they're really starting to understand the importance that sports play in their life and the role they play, which is really to foster those relationships, friendships, and memories and meaningful relationships for them. So that's been one. The second thing, though, is coach, all the fields are closed, right? Like, how am I supposed to get better? Everything's shut down. The cops are kicking me off, blah, blah, blah. So that's been a challenge. And our big message for Wyoming soccer is find a way. We got to find a way to get better. We have to be resourceful. We're all in the same boat. We're all facing the same challenges. How we respond to this adversity is really going to separate us. So we're looking at it as an opportunity, not a setback right now.
Coach, you had such a successful first season at Wyoming. Now, obviously, we're in this strange time. You kind of touched on a little bit. It's tough to prepare. What are some good success stories maybe you have reaching out with the kids, some things that you've heard from the student athletes, and what have you been able to do, with limited access?
Yeah. I was hired pretty late last year. I was hired in May, and for a fall sports coach, that's really late. Usually in off season, you guys know as the strength coaches, the off season starts pretty quickly after the end of the season. That no contact period is over, and we're ready to get in the weight room. We're ready to start putting in work for next season. So, this year was the first time that, our guys really understood what are the expectations of our off season, how are we supposed to be getting better, what clubs are we supposed to be playing for, what do we do on our own time, how do we get stronger, how do we get more fit, and so we were going through those motions. Now, obviously, and I felt like we were in a good spot as a program, to be honest with you, and now things have changed, and so the way that we've handled it within our program is we obviously have our at-home workouts that you guys have created, which has been a tremendous resource in terms of strength training for our players and being resourceful. And there's so much on there that they can use. There's no excuse for them to say, I don't know what to do. So that's been great. We've also created pretty much a daily workout to do with the ball. So we're really focusing on our technical skills, becoming just a cleaner team technically. And that's something that we email to the players every week. They have access to it, and it's up to them to get it done. The other thing that we've started to do is we've created accountability groups, and they're based on our 4 pillars within our program. And our 4 pillars are commitment, hard work, competition, and brotherhood. Those are the 4 things we focus on. And so each group is named off of those pillars, and there's a handful of seniors, juniors, sophomores, and incoming freshmen in those groups. And really it's just a way for them to hold each other accountable. They have their own modes of communication. And this week they created like a montage video of what they were doing at home, and we're posting that on our Twitter. So it's just a way for the guys to connect, some of our older players to start to develop some leadership skills, and some of our younger guys to start to get to know our older players. That can always be scary for incoming freshmen when they're looking at guys 3 years older than them. So we're making the best of it, man. I'm proud of how our guys have handled this so far.
Coach
Awesome.
Mauser, I know you wanted to kind of touch on some conditioning and some strength training stuff that you had some questions about.
Well, I know in a perfect world, we'd like to be able to hit everything and get everybody 100% ready, but because of timing and we don't know when we'll actually be able to start working and stuff, if there was kind of one aspect that you really wanted to kind of put priority on to where we could really hit the ground running, like how, if you wanted to tell your athletes like what they need to be focusing on mostly right now, what would it be?
Yeah. I think that it's going to be tough when we don't know what our timeline is going to be. I think, let's say in a perfect world, we're able to start on July 1st and we can go 100%. The risks that everyone is going to face is going from 0 to 100. And what we're going to see is, you guys know it, pulled hamstrings everywhere. Like kids just won't be ready for it. I think that we're going to put them into a position where their bodies just aren't used to those external loads and that workload that we're asking them to do. So to answer your question, I think number one, this is a great time to work on, for soccer players, strength. Notoriously, it's a weak group. And so if you have any strength at all, you are ahead of the curve. And then in terms of conditioning, I think that an aerobic base is what's really important. And when I say that, I mean, can you work for a longer period of time? So we're having our guys run some longer distances. We're having them do some interval work and things of that nature, but it's just ensuring that they get a longer workload on their legs. That's kind of what we're focusing on.
Awesome.
Coach, you have a Oh,
I'll go ahead. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, Coach, you have a strength and conditioning background as well, so that obviously helps. And we've seen a huge turnaround just in the numbers from soccer, since I've been there. There's been a huge emphasis on that. What is like some core exercises you mentioned strength that you want your soccer players to focus on?
Yeah, I think that one of the things I hate to hear coaches use is we're going to do sports specific training. Whenever I see like we're going to do soccer specific training, I'm like, what are you going to do? Kick a med ball? Like I could kick a 6-pound med ball, so I could kick a soccer ball real hard. Like that's so bad. So I want our soccer athletes lifting like our football athletes, and I don't think that the program for soccer needs to be very much different at all than a program for football. I think soccer players in general, just the soccer world in general, is starting to embrace strength and conditioning as something that makes them better soccer players. And that's a big step, because just 5, 6, 7 years ago, coaches would scoff at you if you said that players should be lifting weights. And we're seeing it in the high school community. We're seeing it in the club world. We're seeing it in the professional world, where lifting heavy is something that soccer players do because they need to be strong athletes. So in terms of exercises, I want them to squat. And I love the fact that I'm hearing we'll have some safety bars to squat with. I think that's awesome. I want them to deadlift. I want them to hip thrust. I think that having a strong upper body and a strong core, so doing heavy carries, is important for soccer players. There's bilateral and unilateral movements, and depending on where you stand on that, those are important too. Soccer is a sport that's played on one foot a lot. So maybe including some things like split squats and things of that nature are important as well. But we don't want our kids to be afraid of getting strong. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but we want our boys to lift heavy. I don't want our soccer team, and if our soccer team is in the weight room, I don't want people to say that must be the soccer team. I want them to get confused with the football team. And that's probably different than what most soccer coaches would tell you. But we want the best athletes possible to play soccer. And so we're going to do whatever we can to get them there.
Coach, I'm so glad you just said you don't want them to be afraid to get strong, because I've said so many times in the weight room, don't be afraid to get stronger when someone's afraid to put some extra weight on or something. So it's always good to hear another coach say that. And I was going to ask you, I know you're big on discipline. You put out a tweet, I think, about it today. Your Twitter game is really good with motivation and everything when it comes down to that. So what message can you give to not only your players, but all student athletes during this time, kind of about staying disciplined in their routine, getting the workouts in, and how important it's going to be when we come getting ready to go back and compete?
Yeah. A lot of people, when I first started coaching, a lot of people would tell me that I was really motivational. And I started to get this reputation as being this motivational guy. And honestly, I don't like that, because I don't want our kids to be motivated. That's not what I want. I want our kids to be disciplined, and I want them to be committed to a process. And sure, it takes some motivation to start that process, and we'll try to motivate them to get there. But if you're relying on sheer motivation to get you through a season or get you through a workout or get you through anything, man, it's going to run out. Motivation is fleeting, something that comes and goes. Discipline is who you are. And if we can create discipline, which is an attribute, a learned skill in our athletes, then they're going to be a lot more successful. So when it comes down to it, the message I give to our boys a lot is we have to prioritize our future self over our current comfort. we want to be comfortable. We want to sit. It's cool to be on the couch. It's fun to watch Netflix and play video games. But there's that delayed gratification, and we have to do the work now in order to win games later and have those great moments and memories later. And not only do you have to do it, but so do your teammates. So it's great if you're doing it, but if your teammates aren't doing the work, then you're going to be alone on an island. So we gotta pull each other towards the same end goal, and ensure that we're all doing the work, we're all being disciplined, and we understand that in the end, it's going to pay off.
I like that that's where you took it. This is the thing that I keep harping on, is that you got to get a schedule. You make a schedule not for the things you're responsible for, but for the tomorrow that you want to have. And people really miss that point because they want to sit down and play video games or watch Netflix. And they don't realize that 2 hours that they just spent watching a TV show or playing a video game, it compounds the things you have to do later on in days. So then like your tomorrow is just stressed out because you have to make up for the things that you were too lazy to do the day before. Or people are like, I don't have time to make breakfast when the school season starts because we got to wake up early for school. Well, I'm sorry, but that 30 minutes of sleep is not nearly as important as that meal. And that's all it's going to take is 30 minutes. And I can promise you 9 times out of 10, they were up watching Netflix before they went to bed anyways, and they could have went to bed 30 minutes earlier. Just what it comes down to. And it's discipline. It's not motivation.
Absolutely. And it's about, another saying we have a bunch of sayings. I'm kind of notorious for that, but one of the sayings is attack your 24. So we all got the same 24 hours in front of us. You got to attack it. You got to make the most of it. No one cares what you did yesterday. It's all about what are you doing with your time today to ensure that you're a better version of yourself from when you woke up to when you went to bed. Are you a better version of the human being that you were? Lay your head on that pillow. And as long as you're doing something to get a little bit better, that's important, because little by little, a little becomes a lot. And over time, those small incremental improvements turn into, life-changing improvements, really.
Yeah, I think Coach King and I, we are in sales, and a lot of our meetings and the people that are above us like to preach motivation constantly because they think that that's what leads to better success. So it's interesting to hear from your standpoint. We were hired into sales because we're competitors, we're athletes, and that's what we're doing. But I get tired of hearing motivational speeches, so that's my standpoint on motivation.
Yeah.
Is I got to where I am through discipline and hard work, and there was no other way around it. Coach King, can you attest to kind of the same things?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I wasn't the most talented guy, that's for sure. And like you said, Coach Jones, when you go to bed at night, you want to make sure on the 24 is fantastic because, I said this on a podcast before, you're either going to come out of this time better or you're going to come out worse. You're not going to be staying the same. And you have to make sure that you're outworking and always thinking that you are getting outworked by your competition. And that's kind of the way I always felt, to be able to outwork my talent and be able to get me further than what just I have for that. So find your inner motivation. You're not always going to be able to go and find it from necessarily a quote or something like that. And those are all great. And I like them every now and then. But, Coach O, I know you're big on finding what's inside of you and motivating yourself to getting up and doing that work.
100%. Coach Jones, what is kind of you mentioned it earlier, you're having incoming freshmen, they're talking to you a lot. What's kind of the overall message that you want to get out to the new incoming freshmen as well as your program, that maybe some guys you haven't talked to as frequently?
Yeah. I think it goes back to our find a way mentality, right? We gotta find a way to get better. We gotta find a way to make time. We gotta find a way to become a better teammate. We just have to find a way. Our excuses will always be there for us, no matter what, especially during this time when we're facing adversity. It's difficult. There are obstacles. There's always going to be a reason why we can't do something. But what's important to realize is man, this high school season is finite, right? Your high school career is finite. We saw it with, the seniors of the spring sports that didn't have a season. Who would have thought going into their senior year, that was the last time you're ever going to play as a junior? Like, what a heartbreaking thing to understand. And, we tell our athletes all the time, don't take these opportunities to play for granted, because 4 years, man, it goes like that. And so, yeah, is this an ideal situation for our athletes? Absolutely not. But it's what we've been dealt, and we have to make the most of it. So continue to find a way and understand that you're going to be better in the end because of this if your mindset is right.
Couldn't agree more. Coach Mauser, any last thoughts that you want to throw out towards Coach Jones?
Well, kind of. I just want to piggyback on something that he said earlier about how freshmen come in a little intimidated about building relationships with some of the senior members, and they've lost the summertime of really getting to train next to them and do that. But he also mentioned that the big thing that everybody's missing is the brotherhood. And I myself am really missing that out. I miss every athlete I work with. I got used to seeing basically over 100 friends a week, getting to hang out with them for hours at a time, to seeing 2 people. It's heartbreaking, and you really do kind of miss it. And there's no reason to be intimidated by that, because every single person in there, that is how they look at it. The sport is for a brotherhood. It's not just competition. It's not, oh, we're 3 years older and we look down on you. You shouldn't be scared. You shouldn't be scared. That's what it comes down to. And hopefully once we can get in there again, everybody will come in just excited to see each other, and we can kind of nip that fear in the butt.
Yeah, I would add to that too. I've coached at multiple places. And the one thing that makes Wyoming really different, which, by the way, I love the 15 built different hashtag. I think that's awesome. We need some t-shirts or something. But the one thing that shocked me about Wyoming was I came in and the freshmen were all welcome with open arms. And there was no separation in the classes. And that's not normal. That's really, really strange. And I don't think people at Wyoming understand how not normal that is, and what a blessing it is for our community. And it's a testament to our families and to our community and to this high school administration, everyone, that we have such a welcoming and tight-knit community, and this, 2.6 square miles, some really uncommon things are going on, and it's because we have a lot of uncommon people within this community. So it's a wonderful place to be.
Coach King, Wyoming alum, lived there your whole life. Why don't you piggyback off of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could say it any better than what he just said. It really is a fantastic place to be. Obviously we're very lucky to have Coach Jones on board there, and super excited to see what your team's going to be able to do here coming up this fall. Piggybacking off of a great year last year and a fantastic group of kids. So thank you for all you do with that, for sure. And then I did have one quick question, because, like Coach O said earlier, you're a strength conditioning guy just like us. I'm sure we all miss our gyms. How are your quarantine workouts going?
So it's funny. I was prior to quarantine, I was actually training for a strongman competition in June. So I would have been the smallest dude in the strongman competition, but I was working to get up to 200 pounds, and we were practicing the events and stuff like that. And then obviously this quarantine hit. I have some equipment at home that I've been able to use, but what I've really gotten back into is I've gotten back into running. So it used to be that I was in a weight room every day, and that's what I could do. And now I'm not. I'm in Liberty Township, Ohio, with a barbell. And so my way of finding a way was getting back into running. So over the quarantine, I've ran over 200 miles. I've gotten quite obsessive with it. So that's how I've kept myself sane, is I just run way too much. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, get back into it once we can with the strong. I remember you talking about you were doing some powerlifting back during the football season. So, yes.
Nothing like you guys. Nothing like
that.
Well, that's exciting. And last thing I'm going to say, I'm excited to see, like I said, what you're going to do with the fall and piggyback after last year. I know there's some unfinished business for you guys and really high expectations. So super exciting.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about last year, one of the reasons we were successful, the year before we had an undefeated regular season, and then we went into the tournament and there were 5 guys injured, 5 really important players. And so we lost in a sectional final to Summit Country Day. And then this year, we really focused on getting back in the weight room with you guys. We really focused on getting our guys with our athletic trainers and ensuring that they were doing the prehab and they were getting in and they're doing their work. And this year, at the end of the season, we were undefeated again. We played Summit Country Day in a sectional final, and we had every single player healthy throughout the entire season. That happens because of, number one, a little bit of luck, all right? But number two, our athletic trainers are incredible. And number three, the work that you guys did with our boys, the way that Zabo sat down with me, talked about how to ensure that we were peaking at the right time, keeping the boys healthy, thinking about workloads. That was you guys. And it allowed me to focus solely on soccer. And I've never been able to do that. And so I have a lot of gratitude for what you guys do. And I have a lot of gratitude for our athletic trainers. It's been phenomenal. So it's not just the players, it's not just the coaches, it's the entire staff at Wyoming. So thank you guys for what you do, and I'm going to continue to lean on you to do what you do best, so that I can lay out some cones and blow some whistles and yell at kids a little bit.
We absolutely love having your soccer team up there. My heart will always go out to Luke Crockett. I mean, ever since I was at Wyoming, he has been there for summer workouts with the football team grinding. I think at one point in time, I tried to convince him to, kick field goals. So he obviously said no, he wasn't interested at all. But it's been great to have you on, Coach. We're excited for the year. We can't wait to get back after it. Fingers crossed that we're going to end up doing July 1st will be the first day back. But until then, hey, everybody, it's onward Cowboys, and in the 1-5, we were just built different.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
See you guys.
Thanks, Coach.